It was 10 years ago next week when the province announced it would be removing the slot machines at Fort Erie and two other border racetracks. It was a decision that didn't sit well with our first guest today. Doug Martin was the town's mayor at the time. Doug, where were you when you heard that Rod Phillips was making this announcement?
Well, actually, it was during March break. It was the Monday of March break. And normally at council, what we do is we shut down the council meeting for the Monday of that week to allow members of council to have some time off. So we took advantage and we came to Florida to visit some friends. And I got a call from my secretary, Diana, who informed me that the OLG had called a meeting in my office for the next morning at 10 o'clock. And it was important and incumbent that I be there. And I said, well, I'm in Florida. I can't make it, find out what it's about. And they wouldn't tell her anything about it, just that I had to be there. And so I tried calling the individual, his name was Jake, that was my contact, to find out what was going on. And he wouldn't answer his phone. I looked at, there was no way I could make it back because the meeting was, 20 hours from then. And there was a 20-hour drive back home. It was just wouldn't have been enough time. So I thought maybe if it's really important, I could fly back. Checked on flights. There were no flights back. So I waited till Tuesday to find out what was going on. And they informed me that I was on the phone during that the decision had been made to close down the slots, and that they had informed the staff at a meeting next door at the hotel there earlier before they came into the meeting.
Did you hear this coming down the pipe? Did this take you by complete surprise, or was there some whispers that this was going to happen?
No, there was nothing at all. They hadn't informed us at all. I questioned them, why would they do it on such short notice? And they told me that it was because they had to keep it confidential, and they had just made this decision, days before, which is contrary to the fact that they phoned the Holiday Inn next door, or the Clarion Inn next door, and made arrangements to have their meeting room scheduled on the Tuesday of the week before. But they couldn't have told me, so I could have stayed back and been part of it. But no, we didn't have any idea that it was coming, and neither did the staff that was there either, from what I understand.
265 jobs. There were actually more people working in the slots than were at the racetrack at the time, and $1.2 to $1.3 million in tax revenue a year from the slots. That was a huge, huge loss for the town.
Absolutely, and we were using a lot of that revenue to help assist with the racetrack as well, because they were getting no funding from the province, and or limited, and we had to match it. So we used that funding to help keep the track going as well. So it was basically both of the industries that were there, we were using to keep it going, the revenue from that to keep it going.
Was there an attempt to try and change the province's mind, or was it a fait accompli that nothing could be changed?
It was a fait accompli. When I returned home, we did have a meeting with them. I went to Burlington and met with them, and they were basically telling us that it wasn't profitable. They couldn't keep it. They did their best to try to make it work. But with the number of people we had working there, it just wasn't profitable. So I said, well, why didn't you, adjust the number of people? It would have been better to maybe downsize a bit on the expenses of the staff that was there, and and try to make it profitable. And they said that it was never in the picture, that it wasn't profitable, and we're not going to keep it. And that was the end of the story.
There was some talk at the time that perhaps this move was being made because they wanted to clear the field to build a Toronto casino and have slots in Toronto. Do you feel that may have influenced the province somehow?
I think it was. There were two things in play. That was number one, the one at Woodbine that they wanted to do there. And the other was that they were still going through the process of the second casino in Niagara Falls, and Niagara Falls wanted to keep that open. And they were saying they didn't think they could have the three of them. So basically they came down, told us they were closing us down, then went to Niagara Falls and told them they were keeping both of the slots and both of the casinos. And that was the end of the story.
When you look at the gambling landscape today, I can go online, I can right here in this studio, go to my computer and gamble online. I can play the slots online. It seems kind of ridiculous in hindsight now that 10 years ago, here's where we are now, and they had to close that facility.
Well, after we met with them afterwards and said, they were looking at redoing the package that they basically have now, and that all municipalities would then be available to come in and bid to have one. And I said, that's great, then we'll put a bid in. And he says, because we want to make everybody equal on this and we'll listen to everybody. I said, fine, then we'll put one in. I said, except for you. You can't do one because you already had one and we made a decision to close yours. So because of the proximity to the falls, you can't put a bid in, so don't bother. So it's fair for everybody but us, apparently.
There was a lot of concern that the racetrack itself wouldn't survive that move. Here we are 10 years later, the racetrack is still going strong. But how afraid were you at that time that that would happen?
Well, that was obviously a major concern, and we went through a number of things through our economic development department and through the Fort Erie Live Racing Consortium. We did a number of scenarios. We took back to the province to say, this is how we can make it work, because it's not going down on my shift. I was first elected back in '82 when they were looking at closing down Fort Erie, and I was president of the Kinsman Club at the time, and we were trying to do everything we could to save the track. I ran for election that year and got in, and we were able to save it then, not through any effort of mine, but through the effort of the town. And I said, it's not going down on my shift. So we did everything we could to keep it going. And in spite of what they were telling us, they still have made it a profitable industry, and it's still going strong.
When you look at your 30 years in municipal politics, what is your take on the relationship between the municipalities and the province?
It's strange at most of the times. There seems to be two sets of rules, for one for the province and one for the rest of us. We would meet with them on an annual basis at the convention that they held every year with the Ontario municipalities, and we got a chance to meet with them. But it always seemed to be that they had their own agenda. They were the government, and we weren't. And we would give them ideas as to what we think, how they could run, the province better, how they can assist us better, and although it was nice to go there and talk to them and meet them face to face, it was very difficult to get them to change anything. We had the racetrack, we had the hospital, we had the wetland issue, and we went to them on all of them. And they basically, the premier of the day had no interest in assisting us whatsoever.
Doug, it's been great catching up with you. I have to say, here at Your TV Niagara, we miss you. It's been great to reminisce with you about this difficult moment in Fort Erie's history. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Anytime.